Look at your retirement savings. Now, imagine 30% of it disappeared due to double taxation, because you choose the wrong European country, one that does not have a treaty to avoid double taxation with the US or the UK. I've helped hundreds of American retirees relocate to Europe, but I would not recommend these three countries, because they might cost you your health, wealth, and peace of mind. After crunching the numbers on taxation, healthcare quality, infrastructure and connectivity, weather, climate, and safety, these destinations consistently rank at the bottom. You will discover the European nations where retirement conditions for expats, especially Americans, are objectively worst, backed by cold hard data on everything from tax treaties to quality of life index, and also according to personal stories of people who lived there. If you're planning on moving to Europe, this information could save you from a costly mistake. Ready? We start with Bosnia and Herzegovina, where tax troubles meet healthcare headaches. And first of all, I'm not trying to say that any of these countries I'll mention today are essentially bad. I have very good memories from my stay in Bosnia. They have one of the best cevapis I ever tasted. My point is that these places are just not among the best for an expat retiree. Let's examine why Bosnia takes the not-so-good position as Europe's third-worst retirement destination. What if I told you that your hard-earned retirement savings get hit not once, but twice due to taxation? That's exactly what happens to American retirees in Bosnia, where the absence of a tax treaty between them and the United States means your income gets taxed by both countries. This is a significant financial burden that compounds over time. Looking at the raw data, Bosnia's Quality of Life Index, a very useful measure calculated by Nandale, sits at 135.87. It improved a lot recently. Just a couple of years ago it was 124, but lower than countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Uruguay, or Malaysia. This Quality of Life Index is calculated on the basis of things like safety, property prices, healthcare, traffic, pollution. In some of them, like cost of living, Bosnia actually does pretty good, but in others, like pollution or climate, it does terribly. So Bosnia is an affordable country, with a cost of living 50.1% lower than the United States. A family of four can manage on about $2,060 monthly without rent. Sounds attractive, right? But here is where the calculation gets complicated. The initial savings quickly evaporate when you factor in things like the healthcare situation. Bosnia's Human Development Index of 0.779 tells an important story, one of substantial gaps in healthcare quality and accessibility. We are talking about a Human Development Index, or HDI, below Iran or Sri Lanka. Life expectancy is a major component of the HDI, serving as a proxy measure for how good is the healthcare and how healthy is life there. Bosnia has a life expectancy of just 76 years. For men, it's even lower, 74 years. These numbers are similar to Brazil and almost 8 years below Italy or Spain. And while in countries like Brazil or Mexico, life expectancy is shortened because of the rampant violence, this is not the case of Bosnia, which is a very safe country. The life expectancy in this country is shortened because of a combination of healthcare issues and bad habits, unlike countries with robust healthcare systems. Bosnia presents challenges for those requiring regular medical attention or specialized care, for retirees who often have ongoing medical needs. This isn't a minor concern, but a potential deal breaker. Then there is the climate factor. Sarajevo's winter temperatures hover around freezing, typically from 0 Celsius to -2. For retirees with conditions like arthritis, these cold months aren't just uncomfortable, they can actively worsen health issues and limit mobility during significant portions of the year. Now remember that I said Bosnia is safe. Yes, that is what most numbers say, and when I was there, I didn't felt any danger. However, the US State Department hasn't issued its Level 2 travel advisory for Bosnia without reason. You might think these warnings about crime and terrorism coming from the US are an exaggeration, but still, they translate directly into higher insurance premiums for American retirees, adding another hidden cost to the retirement budget. The visa situation presents additional hurdles with more restrictive processes than you would encounter in EU countries. Beyond paperwork, there is the isolation factor. Bosnia presents significant language barriers. Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian dominate daily life, with English proficiency remaining limited in many areas. Personal accounts from American expats present a mixed picture. They often praise Bosnia's stunning landscapes and the genuine warmth of local people. However, these same expats consistently mention the healthcare access problems and the difficulty to learn language as factors that ultimately diminish their retirement experience. This is a similar situation we found in our next country, but with a very surprising and even more complicated twist. But before revealing it, I would like to ask a small favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. This is really important for us. So from Bosnia, we jump to Kosovo, also a former part of Yugoslavia. Kosovo presents a mathematical paradox for American retirees. How can a country with expenses 55% lower than the US simultaneously create so many financial complications for you? The answer lies in its Human Development Index of 0.757, below countries like Peru, Brazil, or Colombia, a healthcare system that forces many expatriates to seek treatment abroad at their own considerable expense, and the fact that the entire country is in a legal limbo that you understand very soon. In reality, the fact that I'm calling Kosovo a country might raise protests from some of my viewers. If you think I'm wrong to do so, please let me know in the comment section. You can also protest against my accent, as many viewers do, but that is more difficult to change. Now going back to the subject, when you first glance at Kosovo's numbers, they seem attractive. A couple can live comfortably on $1,150 per month, a substantial reduction compared to American costs. Even in the cheapest US state, West Virginia, a couple would need almost 4 times this value to live comfortably. But retirement planning requires looking beyond initial affordability and focus instead on quality-adjusted living costs. And this is where Kosovo's issues emerge. Kosovo's quality of life index is just 133.31, so even lower than Bosnia's already concerning 135.87. This reflects real-world conditions that become more important with time. The healthcare system particularly illustrates this problem. Specialized treatments for more complicated conditions are often unavailable, a situation that is improving recently with large investments like the American hospital. But despite improvements, many treatments are still not available in the country, and the brain drain of doctors leaving the country does not help. Imagine developing heart problems or needing specialized diabetes care only to discover you must travel to another country for treatment at your own expense. Then there is the issue of pollution, a problem that affects the entire region. And here I make a disclaimer. Some of you who live in places with fresh air and little suspended particulate matter, also known as PM, you probably underestimate how bad pollution can be. I live in one of the most polluted European countries. During winter, it's hard to breathe sometimes, and with age, pollution charges an increasingly high price for your health. Kosovo's air quality is heavily impacted by its coal power plants, Kosovo A and Kosovo B, which are among Europe's most polluting for PM2.5 and NOx emissions. These plants, located near Pristina, emit significant pollutants that affect the capital and surrounding areas. Other industrial activities like cement factories and ferronickel plants also contribute to the high pollution levels. The political landscape adds another layer of complexity. Ongoing tensions with Serbia directly impact everything from property values to insurance premiums. A good real estate deal can turn bad fast if unrest hits the market. Insurers charge more due to risk. In February 2025, elections gave Prime Minister Albin Kurti a big win, pushing for more military spending, 1 billion euros for gear like helicopters and drones. That month, Kosovo police raided a Serbian group in the north grabbing weapons. Talks with Serbia, backed by the EU, stalled after Kosovo banned the Serbian dinar. The EU already criticized Kosovo for not easing tensions with Serbs and Serbia, keeping the region shaky and diplomatic costs high. Then comes winter, with its own challenges. In Prizren, the average lowest winter temperature is around 28 Fahrenheit, -2 Celsius. In Pristina, it's around 25 Fahrenheit, -4 Celsius. This might not sound extreme until you experience the reality of heating infrastructure that falls far below Western standards. Kosovo is one of the two countries in Europe with the highest percentage of inadequate home insulation, the other being Bulgaria. For retirees with arthritis or other temperature-sensitive conditions, these winters can become both uncomfortable and potentially dangerous. Now remember when I say that the entire country of Kosovo is in a legal limbo? This is because only about half the world, 114 out of 193 UN countries, recognize it as a real nation. Serbia is still claiming it as its own, and big players like Russia and China say Kosovo is not a real country. This limbo started after Kosovo broke away in 2008, but the UN can't fully back it since Serbia and its allies blocked the way. That means no clear laws for trade or travel, scaring off investors and keeping bureaucracy tricky for everyone there. And that directly affects the next issue, taxation, which creates additional financial headaches. Without a tax treaty between Kosovo and the United States, retirees may face double taxation on their retirement income. On a positive side, however, expats in Kosovo tend to say that the locals are quite friendly. This is what one expat there told us, open quote, "I was surprised how easy it's to blend in. You always carry that notion that you are different than them, but it was so easy to blend in. After 2 months or so, I already become ipoštiti." End quote. Just as in Bosnia, perhaps the most overlooked thing in retirement planning is the social isolation that can develop in a country where Albanian and Serbian are the primary languages, with limited English proficiency outside major tourist areas. The next country, the worst to retire in Europe, has a much more popular language, a language that you might even speak. However, other issues are so complicated there. And by the way, if you're watching this video, you may be planning to move abroad to live better, to save money, and cut taxes. I've written 3 top-rated Amazon books on living abroad. Get them via the link in the comment or description. Let's talk about Belarus, the data-backed case for Europe's worst retirement destination. Yes, this place is the undisputed champion of our list, because when a country carries a level 4 travel advisory from the US State Department, literally the highest risk level possible, you know we are not talking about minor inconveniences. This isn't a "be careful in certain neighborhoods" warning. It's a clear "do not travel there" directive. And let me be clear, because we are talking about a government that sent fighter jets to intercept an airplane from Ryanair flying from Athens to Vilnius. The airplane happened to pass over their airspace and was intercepted just because one person inside the plane criticized their government. So in Belarus, if you voice anything that can be considered dissatisfaction with their government, you might be under serious risk. No jokes. And this kind of thing might affect you in other ways. Let's talk about money. In 17 December 2024, the US Treasury announced something quite extraordinary: a partial suspension of the tax treaty with Belarus, effective from the same date. The US also closed its embassy in Belarus and ordered all its staff to leave the country. What does this mean in practical terms? American expats, and not only, can fall into a perfect storm of double taxation, visa issues, insurance claims denied, and many other problems that you don't want. But let's say you are not an American, or you have double citizenship, and your other country still has an embassy in Belarus. Even so, you are not in a much better situation. Let's talk a bit about climate, which, by the way, is not even the worst problem there, despite the brutal Belarusian winter. We are talking about average temperatures between -5 Celsius and -8 Celsius, with up to 125 days of snow annually, and accumulations reaching 30 centimeters very easily. Now you might be thinking, but the cost of living is 61% lower than in the US, or Minsk, the capital and most expensive city in Belarus, is still 75% cheaper than Chicago. And that is true. A couple in Minsk would need just $1,150 per month to live comfortably. That would easily put Belarus among the cheapest places to retire in Europe. However, this affordability quickly loses its appeal when you consider the other factors that most people are not very aware of, things that are very particular to Belarus. The healthcare situation, for example, has two sides. On paper, healthcare is free for registered residents. With 9.7 hospital beds per 1,000 people, it is, in theory, more readily available than in Germany, 7.8, or Austria, 7.1. However, the high number of doctors might not compensate for the aging infrastructure and lack of modern equipment. There is also the language barrier. Unless you speak Russian, imagine trying to explain complex medical history or symptoms when neither you nor your doctor fully understand each other. And since you are talking about infrastructure, aging infrastructure systems, particularly outside Minsk, could affect daily life, with utilities and transportation sometimes unreliable. This is something that I constantly observe in this part of Europe. The capitals are actually an entire universe ahead of the countryside. Cities like Budapest, Bucharest, or Warsaw are way richer than the rest of Hungary, Romania, or Poland. The same is valid for Minsk and Belarus, and that happens because these are former communist countries, and communists heavily concentrated power and money in the capitals. So, with the risk of being repetitive, again, the political situation in Belarus creates perhaps the most significant obstacle for American retirees. There are documented risks of arrests for what might be perceived as political activities, activities that would be considered normal civic engagement in the United States. International sanctions further complicate everything, from banking to travel, creating daily hurdles that would exhaust even the most patient retiree. The Quality of Life Index of Belarus is 133.57, very similar to Kosovo and Bosnia, but when factoring the practical realities facing American expatriates, it looks much worse. While Kosovo is probably the most pro-American country in Europe, Belarus is in the opposite extreme. The combination of political repression, harsh winters, healthcare access challenges, and tax complications creates an environment fundamentally hostile to retirement goals. When weighting all factors, from financial to safety to quality of life, Belarus establishes itself as Europe's worst retirement destination. The evidence we collected points to that. Of course, you might disagree, and in fact, I'm very curious to know your opinion in the comment section. And that is the most incredible thing about Europe, a continent that I learned to love. Some countries will cost you your health, wealth, and peace of mind. Other places, however, will give you the chance to experience the best climate in the world for less than half of the price of the US. And all that while living longer and paying lower taxes. Yes, you heard it right. A longer, healthier life with lower taxes. If you're curious about this, you need to check out this video here at your left, with the best places for early retirement in 15 European countries. It's the most important video I ever made, because it answers more questions than any other.